Moscow, 1928. The man in the dark office doesn't sleep much anymore. Joseph Stalin sits behind his desk. A single lamp, piles of papers, cigarette smoke curling above him. His hand moves slowly across a report. Numbers, graphs, complaints. Coal production has fallen again. The Donbas mines are failing. He doesn't see numbers. He sees enemies. He whispers to himself. They're not working. They're wrecking. That word, wrecking, will soon terrify an entire nation. But tonight, it begins here. With one thought, if something goes wrong in the Soviet Union, someone must be sabotaging it. A folder slides across the desk. Stamped, Shakhty, Donbas region. Inside, reports of broken drills, flooded tunnels, lost equipment, technical problems. But in Stalin's mind, no problem is ever technical. To him, it's treason hiding behind numbers, foreign engineers, old czarist experts, educated men who still speak politely and think independently. He never trusted them, and now he's sure they're plotting against him. Find them. Bring me names. That's all he says. But those 3 words will change thousands of lives. Within weeks, the OGPU will swarm into Shakhty, raiding homes, dragging engineers from their beds, turning miners into informants. That night, the men who kept the coal flowing become enemies of the state. And the world, still recovering from one revolution, is about to witness the first public trial of Stalin's reign. It will be called the Shakhty Trial, but what it really is Stalin's first step into absolute power. Shakhty, Donbas, the coal heart of the Soviet dream. The miners still work, the machines still turn, but something in the air has changed. The party says there are enemies here, hidden in the tunnels, hiding behind clipboards and blueprints, and the secret police have come to find them. The OGPU arrives without warning. Black coats, guns, no explanations. They don't ask questions. They read names. Engineers, foremen, technicians who kept the mines running for decades. They're taken one by one, accused of crimes they've never heard of. 53 in total. Some worked under the Tsar. Some fought for the revolution. All of them now labeled wreckers. Their crime? Machines broke down. Coal shipments fell. That's enough. Inside the cell, no one knows who betrayed whom. Confessions start to appear, written in trembling hands. One engineer signs after 3 days without sleep. Another after watching his assistant beaten in front of him. OGPU officer, you were working for the Germans. You plan to destroy the Donbas. You admit this, yes? Engineer, no, I fixed the pumps. Officer, you wrecked them. The pen is forced into his hand, the paper already filled out. He signs. And with that signature, Stalin gets what he wanted, proof. Outside, the newspapers print headlines about sabotage. The word enemy begins to spread again. Factories whisper. Offices fall silent. Somewhere in Moscow, Stalin reads the first reports. He doesn't smile. He just nods. Because for him, fear is the only engine that never breaks. Moscow, May 1928. The doors of the Supreme Court open. and the crowd surges in. Everyone wants to see it. The first great Soviet trial, a public display of justice or vengeance. Inside, the air is thick with sweat and cigarette smoke. Dozens of reporters, foreign diplomats, party loyalists, all waiting for the curtain to rise. And at the center of the stage, 53 men, the engineers of Shakhty, broken, exhausted, their faces pale from weeks in prison basements. The prosecutor walks in, Andrei Vyshinsky. His eyes are sharp, his voice calm, almost polite. But when he speaks, it cuts through the silence like a blade. Vyshinsky, these men have betrayed our people. They worked with foreign spies to destroy the Soviet minds. Gasps, applause. The audience already knows the ending. The verdict was written long before the trial began. One man confesses he met a German agent, a lie he memorized after 10 nights without sleep. Another admits to sabotaging machines, because he was told his wife had disappeared. Each confession is a mirror, reflecting fear back at the nation watching through the newspapers. And somewhere behind the curtains, Stalin is listening. He never attends, but his shadow sits in the front row. This isn't justice, it's theater. Every tear, every confession, every guilty plea, carefully rehearsed, painfully real. The men are not just being judged, they're being used. Their guilt is the foundation for a new kind of power. When the verdict comes, no one is surprised. 11 men sentenced to death, the rest to labor camps. The courtroom erupts in applause, like an audience clapping at the end of a play they don't understand. Outside, banners rise. Long live Stalin! Death to the wreckers! But the real message isn't written on banners. It's burned into every mind watching. If you fail, you're next. The Shakhty Trial was the moment Stalin learned the power of performance. And from that stage of fear, he would never step down. The Shakhty Trial is over. But its shadow keeps growing. Across the Soviet Union, fear replaces reason. Every engineer, every teacher, every doctor looks over their shoulder. A broken machine is no longer a mistake. It's an act of betrayal. Factories stop experimenting. Minds hide problems instead of fixing them. No one wants to be the next wrecker. The men who once built the nation's industry now work in silence, afraid of their own tools. In Moscow, Stalin calls it a victory. He tells the party, the class struggle grows sharper as we move forward. It becomes the new law of survival. To question anything is to oppose progress. To fail is to conspire. And so, the purges begin quietly. Department by department, city by city. Thousands vanish without headlines. He never speaks of Shakhty again. He doesn't need to. The message has already taken root. From now on, every problem will have a guilty man. Every delay, a saboteur. Every silence, a confession waiting to happen. The Shakhty Trial wasn't about coal. It was about control. It was Stalin's first public act of domination. The moment he learned that fear could move a nation, faster than faith ever could. And the world saw, for the first time, that the Soviet leader was no longer just a revolutionary. He was becoming something else, a dictator. After Shakhty, the script never changed. Arrest, confession, execution, repeat. By the mid-1930s, the same formula would devour the Red Army, the party, and the people who once stood beside Stalin himself. The show trials of Moscow, the Great Purge, the endless lists of names. They all began here in a coal town that no one remembers anymore. The Shakhty Trial taught Stalin something priceless. You don't need truth to rule. You only need fear. And once a nation learns to fear one man, that man can rewrite everything. Facts, loyalty, even history itself. Shakhty was the first signature. The first step toward a darkness that would swallow millions. And for Stalin, it was only the beginning.